So Des, how's it going? Thanks very much for taking the time to do this chat.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for being my first Irish interview.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Where are you today?
New York City, New York, New York.
And how's New York looking today?
It's pretty snowy, man. We got a big storm. It's like
Is it?
a foot of snow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, well, we'd like to talk about how when did you develop your love for music? When did you first hear music and really start to enjoy it?
Yeah, I always kind of had that itch to make music. Like I remember being a little kid and always being obsessed with music in any form. You would see the kids with the little plastic shells of their little baby violins and cellos and stuff, and they were just like carrying this thing, and I was like, "What is that?" And
Mhm.
I think the second I found out that it was a string instrument that you could like channel emotion through with your hands, I was just kind of hooked. And I didn't really come from a very musical family, to be honest. So it was something that I was like, it was just kind of a luring thing to me that I was always chasing.
And you played the violin from a very young age, is that right?
Yeah, it was like the smallest first instrument you could pick up. And I started playing violin like I was like second grade. And that really spawned the love of stringed instruments and like anything where I can control the emotion of it with my hands, you know?
And when was the transition from violin to starting to play the guitar?
I was probably in middle school when I realized that playing the violin had a hard time competing with an instrument like the guitar socially, you know? But I'd always been obsessed with like rock and roll and rock music. And in second grade, we had to do this project where you do a paper cutout of who you want to be when you be older. And everybody did like mailman and firefighter and doctor and astronaut. And I just did a guy in jeans and I just wrote on it rock. And that was like the earliest inclination that, yeah, I was like playing the violin at the time, but like all I wanted to do was hop into this kind of mythos of rock and roll.
Was there a particular band or artist in the rock world or any musical genre that you first heard for the first time and you thought, I really like these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I was tremendously influenced by like some of the classic 50s rock and roll stuff, but it's crazy because the very first two CDs I bought were like Nine Inch Nails, an instrumental album, and like Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time, you know? So it's
Well,
like I was just kind of like soaking in everything at once, you know?
the Britney Spears track, it's a great track.
That's some of the greatest pop songwriting on planet Earth, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you were also one part of the band Secret Weapons. Is that
Mhm.
correct? Um, what made you decide to branch out as a solo artist when the band folded?
Well, I didn't really have a choice, you know, because I was always the guitarist and we were this kind of songwriting and production duo. And I never sang before. So we were out there touring for a long time, my buddy from high school. And it was really our dream to be able to quit our day jobs one day, tour the world with some of our favorite artists. And unfortunately, right when we got to that point, after working our whole lives to be able to play music for real and really do it, make a living out of it, he got extremely sick.
Mhm.
So the next 2 years on the road were brutal to say the least as far as managing that illness. And it got to a point where he said, "Look, I just can't go on anymore. Like you have to go on without me. Like I can't tour, I can't do that any of this stuff." So it was tough, man. So I kind of went away after that experience. I just kind of like lost everything I spent my whole life working to build, and I just dug very deep into myself, and I kind of got the confidence to sing by myself, and I kind of wrote out a whole story of what I wanted to say to the world and what I wanted a show to look like next month and 5 years from now and 20 years from now. And I just stuck to that plan. And in 2018, I put out the first Des Rocs song on Spotify. And I remember looking at it on Spotify the next day and it had that little less than 1,000 sign on it.
Mhm.
And I was just sitting there. I was like totally broke. And I was just like totally demoralized. I was like, fuck, man, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be really tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of my music is about overcoming the odds, and it's about perseverance and it's about strength, especially in the face of darkness. So that's kind of how a long way of answering the question of transitioning from being in a band to being Des Rocs.
When you start writing songs, do you find songwriting comes naturally to you, or do you have to work at it?
It's kind of all of the above, to be honest. I think my process is me constantly trying to find my process.
Hmm.
That is my process, you know. Just last night, I woke up in the middle of the night with an idea, and I might get something. I might work on a song for 3 years, and then I might get something better in the shower in 30 seconds. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of just everything at once, all of the above, which in a weird way I think describes a lot of my music, to be honest.
Can you remember the first song you wrote and you thought,
Yeah,
this is a really good song?
yeah. I mean, I remember writing a song when I was like 13 or 14,
Hmm.
about like a girl, and it was like just an acoustic song because all I had was an acoustic guitar at the time. And yeah, I remember I never was like, I'm gonna be a songwriter now. You know, it was just kind
Yeah.
of like always a thing that I was just like, of course I write songs. Of course I just like always want to make stuff. You know.
And you've just put out the EP. This is Our Life EP. It's your latest release.
Mhm.
Did you go into that recording with an idea of the kind of songs you wanted to write about and the kind of sound you wanted to have for the EP?
Mhm. That was about this time last year, and I was just getting off. I just got off tour with Muse in Europe, and I was extremely I've always been extremely influenced by that band, like especially a lot of their earlier work, and I just kind of started putting together the bits and pieces and the instrumentals. And then once the pandemic hit, it just really became apparent to me that my duty as an artist was to reflect the times. And I wanted to write songs that people could relate to in a meaningful way because I feel like a lot of rock music has lost some of that relevance and some of that urgency. And to do that in a way that was tasteful and exciting, and rocking above all things.
You know, it's great that you're putting out rock tunes. I love the genre myself. A lot of people have been saying for years, rock is dead. What do you say to those people?
I mean, that's such an interesting question because I just feel like rock rock is not dead. I just don't think it even exists anymore in the way
Yeah.
that one thinks of it existing. The world, and especially music, is a giant melting pot of every sound. And we put these things into these genres and lanes and boxes as a simple convenience for our brains, I think. You know, it's
Yeah.
easy, that's rock. That's this. I think most rap music is more rock than most rock music, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without a doubt, because rock to me, I think if you can describe it, it's not rock. I think
Yeah.
it's just some vague energy and style and feel. And over time, we were like, well, it has to have a guitar, it has to have this. And those things are very limiting on music as a whole, I think.
And what I like about you is you make rock music and or whatever it is, very interesting. Your songs are very interesting. There's a lot of layers to your music, which I enjoy. And the latest single off the EP, Pieces, I really enjoy that track. What can you tell me about the genesis of that song?
Yeah, that song, it was one where I woke up at 5 in the morning and I had this idea. I had a dream that I was in a co-writing session, which I hate doing, and I don't really do them at all for Des Rocs. And I was
Mhm.
in a co-writing session, and the co-writing session was, this is the first time I've said this story, and the co-writing session was going terribly in my dream.
Mhm.
And I remember looking at this like random producer, and he's like, "Well, we got to get something before we leave." And I was like, "Okay, I got it." I was like, "Mm-hmm." He was like, "That's great. That's gonna be a great song." And then I like woke up out of the dream. I was like, and then I had this idea, and I was like, I gotta go record this right now. So I went into the living room and I just recorded it with this exact microphone right here, and just like this, sitting with the speakers and the click on, and the click was bleeding into the microphone horribly.
Mhm.
So in the mixing process, it was a real pain in the ass to get it out. But yeah, and I just kind of wrote that all at once, to be honest. Like it came really, really fast, and it was just kind of all done in most of this little square box that I sit in New York City.
No, it's amazing that you said it came from a dream. I mean, that's exactly how Paul McCartney wrote Yesterday.
Oh, really?
It came to him in a dream.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And
Uh,
he woke up from the dream and there was a piano and he started playing at the piano, but he thought it came. He didn't realize he thought it was someone else's song, and he kept on playing to the guys. And he said, "Who is this?" And he kept on playing the melody, and they said, "No, I've never heard it before." And that's what
wow,
happened.
that's amazing. Yeah, something
Yeah,
about being like in a dream state or a half like dream state. It's like this hyper creative place, and if there was just a way to like some drug they invented where you could just like tap into that at any given time, God knows the amount of art and incredible songs we'd have in this world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of all the songs that you've written so far, what's the one that you'd probably be most proud of?
That's an interesting question because I'm very proud of everything that makes it out. I think I've only put out like 13 or 14 songs in 2 years, and that's out of hundreds of ideas. But proud, man. There's a song that nobody really likes called I Know. And for
Mhm.
me, I wrote it really quickly in the beginning of quarantine. And I was really proud of it because it just gave. Am I allowed to curse on this channel?
Go ahead.
And it
Yeah.
gave absolutely no fucks about genre or anything. And it was just vibe and it was just this energy. And I just like really wanted to get this out to the world and say it. I'm also really proud of a song called Wayne that I just like. It's
Good
such a
tune.
thank you. It's just such a rattlesnake of a record that every time I hear it, I get pumped up and it hits me in this primordial level. And when I think about playing it live, I just know I'm gonna fall off the stage the first show back. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, talking about shows, do you miss not being able to play live at the moment because of COVID?
Oh, horribly. I mean, I can't imagine any artist that doesn't. I've been playing shows since I was 13, 14 years old, crisscrossing the US in a van my whole life. So uh, this is definitely the longest I've ever gone without playing a show or being on a stage. And it's very tough. There's nothing that can compare to the adrenaline rush of playing to 80 people or 800 or 8,000 or 80,000 every night. There's just nothing that compares to that, you know?
Mhm.
Watching The Crown at home, nothing's gonna hit that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Season three, I just started, man. It's like, yeah, it's cool. They got a new cast and everything, but I don't think it hits the same note.
I think I've watched 3 episodes of the first season, and I must get into it because everybody keeps talking about it.
Is it huge over there? Is it like a much bigger deal?
No, yeah, it is a big deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
I know nothing
and
about any of these things, so like it's all so foreign to me. I was like, wait, you got a queen, you got I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. It's very interesting.
we were talking about playing live, what goes through your head when you just step onto the stage? How do you feel?
I just feel the most like myself. I'm like, this is who I am. This is me. This is my element. I always say that like on stage is the real me and that this is the show, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's such a comfort and I love it.
So it's all you, because some people say they put on a character as soon as they step on stage, but it is you.
Yeah, this is the character now.
Yeah.
Stage is me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And again, you mentioned about opening up for Muse, but you also opened up in the last Rolling Stones tour
hmm
for the guys. That must have been amazing. How was that? How did that feel?
It was unbelievable, man. You kind of like see the movies of like Queen at Wembley Stadium playing to like 100,000 people, and you're like, oh, what is like 80,000 people gonna look like? It looks just like that. It feels like it's a green screen. You know what I mean? Like you could have told me that there was a green screen 100 yards out from the stage, and that it was all just CGI. And I was like, wow, the rendering on that is incredible. But yeah, I mean, it was so surreal. It was such a special show and moment. And the second I stepped off stage, I was filled with nothing but dread because it was over. You
Yeah.
know, and I just wanted to be like, man, I just can't wait to do that and have it be my show soon.
Were you able to meet the band at all?
I was, yeah, spent a little time with them, and they were incredible. Like some of the nicest people, and were super appreciative and outrageously friendly. And it was just crazy to be in the same room as them.
Did they offer any advice?
No, no advice.
No.
But maybe I should have asked her some. I don't know. Next tour, I'm gonna ask.
Yeah,
I
because
think I was just trying to play it so cool that I couldn't even like dive into something like that.
if any band could give you advice, it's the Stones.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Absolutely.
like what's the one piece of advice? Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Uh, when it's safe to do so, are you planning to come to the UK to play some live shows?
Oh, 100%, man. I toured the UK last October. Not last October, but I guess last October. And man, I loved it. It was cool. Like I didn't know any of these towns or cities or anything, and I would show
Hmm.
up in like Bristol, which I didn't even know, I hadn't even heard of. And
Yeah.
then I show up there, and there's like people singing along, and I was like, this is crazy, man. I love the UK, man. I think there is such a rich legacy and history of New York artists and American artists going to the UK first and
Yeah.
like connecting with people there before people here get it, man. And I really just think that's going to be the path for me, to be honest.
Yeah, it's happened with loads of bands
Mhm.
over the years and artists. Just a couple more questions for you, Des.
Cool.
Out of all the music in your collection, which artist or band do you have the most albums by?
Wow. Most albums by. I mean, I probably have the most Elvis Presley albums, I would say, just because there's so many of them.
Yeah,
You know, this guy put out an album like every 3 months, and it would like have some different theme. And they would just crank them out. Yeah, so definitely a whole lot. Yeah.
good call. Most people say the Beatles, but Elvis
You know
is the
what? I
first
don't.
I've heard.
I mean, I have like some just really a totally different like musical history than I think people from the UK. Like, I didn't really know anything about the Beatles until like
Really?
I was much older. I knew like some of the like early stuff, and that was really it. Like I never had someone who was like, sit me down, listen to this album. I
Yeah.
still to this day don't know anything about Oasis other than like the Champagne song, and that's it. That's all I got. You know, I
Yeah.
don't. It's like they just growing up in like Long Island, New York. These weren't artists that were like so hyper present in my life. For me, it was like Billy Joel and Bruce Springsteen, and like a very different kind of artist was like our canon and our
Hmm.
legendary artists.
Yeah, yeah. You should check out Oasis. You should do a deep dive.
Yeah, I gotta check it out at some point, right? I feel
Yeah,
woefully ignorant, you know.
absolutely. Um, what have you been listening to recently that you could recommend to the people watching?
I've been listening to a lot of just everything. Like, there's this rap artist named Snot who I think is just incredibly dope. Who I've listened to. There's this like kind of half meme, half serious, half. I mean, like, only two halves, but artist named Mario Judah, who's like doing the craziest shit I've ever heard and taking the biggest swings creatively that I'm kind of
Hmm.
obsessed with.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of everything. It's all over the place, which again is representative of pretty much everything I do.
And what's the plans for 2021 if everything calms down and goes to plan?
Well, we got a lot booked. I mean, my next fall is booked solid, and fingers crossed it stays that way. I'm gonna be putting out my first album, which I'm really really excited about, and that I've been quietly working on for a very long time. And oh, man, a whole lot that I'm really excited about.
Well, I'm glad you said about the album. I'm looking forward to hearing that there because,
Thank you.
you know, I'm sure it'll be amazing. How is it shaping up?
Oh, I think it's gonna change the game. Like I'm gonna take
Really?
the. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna change rock music forever, and I'm gonna remake it in my image. Like there's nobody doing what I'm doing on this album. I think there's nobody doing what I'm doing on this EP. I think everybody in rock music is just playing it really safe and has a very specific approach. And I just don't care about anything. And whatever feels good. And that's how I think of it, you know? And I want to push boundaries and I want to drag the whole genre kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
Yeah, well, that's what we need in rock music. There's too many people playing safe, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the second you think of your music as well, is so and so going to like it? Then you're doomed. Then you're
Yeah.
doomed. Prince wasn't making records being like, I really hope this program director at this radio station is going to like this one. You know what I mean? Like, and he's got a whole body of the wackiest, craziest stuff, but the ones that stick are iconic,
Yeah.
you know? And that's how I think. Like, I think you got to just create a lot and you got to push boundaries and you got to get weird and you got to get uncomfortable. And like, there's going to be these little moments that happen where you create something that is so special to the world and to music and to the culture, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So you make music for yourself first,
Oh,
and then if people like it, they like it.
yeah. Look, if like after I put out that song that had a little less than 1,000 sign on it, if it stayed at less than 1,000 for a year, despite me working and working and working, then look, I would have had to like go get some fucking job that I really hated and just go back to making music at night, you know?
Hmm.
But one thing I do think about though of people liking it um, is at shows. Like I'm picturing it on a stage all the time. I'm like, yes, is this going to be something that I can connect with somebody
Hmm.
over? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Where I can tell them something about myself or maybe about themselves and have them
Yeah.
relate to it and accept it, and that we can establish this energy and connection. I'm always thinking that, like, how's it going to feel? How am I going to move to it? How am I going to dance to it live? You know what I mean? All those things, always thinking about that.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I really look forward to hearing it, Des. That's my questions finished. Really appreciate you taking the time out to do this.
Thank you so much.
I do love what you're doing. Keep keep it up. And I really am. Now that you've mentioned the album, I'm really looking forward to hearing it. And hopefully you can come to Ireland some stage to play.
I never played there. I would love to. Yeah, I don't know if anyone will like when I'm about there, but who knows? I hope so. Except for you, yeah.
No, I'll keep on pushing the word out about Des Rocs. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, thanks for your time, Des, and hope you have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Take it easy.
Take care.
Bye-bye.